Does capitalism, the very system that promises prosperity and opportunity, actually kill our dreams? Probably so, since everything is so expensive. This may seem like a paradoxical question to ask. After all, capitalism, with its ethos of free markets and competition, is often hailed as the great enabler of dreams. It's the economic system that boasts of paving the way for rags-to-riches stories and encourages innovation. Yet, a closer look reveals a different picture. Many people, despite their best efforts, find themselves trapped in a cycle of incessant work, unable to pursue their passions. They feel confined by financial constraints, suffocated by debts, and haunted by the fear of financial insecurity. This isn't the dream they were promised. This isn't the prosperity they aspired for. So, what's going wrong? Is capitalism, the very system touted as an escalator to success, actually an elevator descending into disillusionment? To understand this paradox, let's explore some real-life examples. Consider the student debt crisis, a perfect example of capitalism's double-edged sword. In the pursuit of higher education, students are promised a path to prosperity. Yet, this very path is paved with high tuition fees, expensive textbooks, and exorbitant living costs. The result? A generation of students burdened with debt before they've even started their careers. In the United States alone, student debt has skyrocketed over the past 2 decades. Today, it stands at a staggering $1.5 trillion, more than auto loans and credit card debt combined. The average student graduates with a debt of $37,000, the price of a new car or a down payment on a house. But here's the paradox. These students, who have invested in their education with the hope of a bright future, often find their dreams stifled by the very debt they took on to achieve them. They delay buying houses, starting families, and even avoid taking risks in their careers, all because of the looming shadow of student debt. And for those who are unable to repay, their credit scores plummet, making it harder to rent apartments or get jobs. Some even face wage garnishment. It's a vicious cycle of debt that can persist for decades. A cycle that's all too easy to fall into and incredibly hard to escape. Furthermore, the burden of student debt is not shared equally. Minorities and low-income students are often hit hardest, exacerbating existing social and economic inequalities. The promise of education as a pathway to prosperity seems for many a hollow one. It's a sobering reality, isn't it? The pursuit of knowledge, a noble endeavor, has been commodified, turned into a product with a steep price tag. It's a stark illustration of how capitalism, with its emphasis on profit over people, can distort even the most fundamental aspects of our society. So, while capitalism promises education as a path to prosperity, it often leads to a cycle of debt and despair. Next, consider the housing market, another area where capitalism's promises fall short. In many parts of the world, owning a home is seen as a cornerstone of success, a tangible symbol of the capitalist dream. However, the reality of the housing market often tells a different story. Over the past few decades, the cost of housing has skyrocketed, pricing out many potential homeowners. Let's take the United Kingdom as an example. In the early 1980s, the average house price was around £20,000. Fast forward to today, and that average has soared well over £230,000. That's more than a tenfold increase. Meanwhile, average salaries have not kept pace. This isn't just a phenomenon restricted to the UK. In the United States, housing prices have also been on a steep upward trajectory. In fact, the median home price in America has more than tripled since the 1970s. But again, wages have not kept up with this inflation. Now, you may be wondering, why are housing prices escalating at such a rapid rate? Well, a big part of it has to do with supply and demand. There simply aren't enough affordable homes being built to keep up with the demand. But it's not just about supply and demand. There's also the issue of speculation, where investors buy up properties with the intention of reselling them at a profit, further driving up prices. And what does all this mean for the average person? It means that home ownership, that cornerstone of the capitalist dream, is becoming increasingly unattainable for many. Instead of being a source of security and wealth, the housing market has become a source of stress and financial insecurity. This is a clear example of how capitalism, in its current form, is not delivering on its promises. It's creating a world where dreams of home ownership are pushed further and further out of reach. Once again, Capitalism's promise of home ownership often leads to a reality of unattainable dreams. As we've seen, capitalism often kills dreams rather than enabling them. This statement, while harsh, is grounded in the realities we've explored so far. Capitalism, a system that promises prosperity and opportunity, often creates barriers that make dreams unattainable. We began our journey with the paradox of capitalism, the idea that a system which promises freedom and wealth for all often results in the concentration of resources in the hands of a few. The dream of prosperity becomes a mirage, always just out of reach for the majority. We then delved into the student debt crisis, a clear manifestation of capitalism's dream-killing tendencies. Young, hopeful individuals enter higher education with dreams of a better future, only to be shackled by debt for decades. The dream of education and upward mobility is choked by the vice of financial burden. The housing market, our next stop, provided another stark example. The dream of home ownership, a cornerstone of the American dream, is fast becoming an elusive fantasy. High prices and an unforgiving market have made this dream unattainable for many. These are but a few examples of how capitalism, while promising prosperity and opportunity, often creates barriers that make dreams unattainable. It's a harsh truth, but it's one we must face if we are to address the issues at hand and find solutions that work for everyone, not just the privileged few. So does capitalism kill dreams? The evidence suggests that it often does. But what if there's a better way? Let's challenge ourselves to critically question the system we've grown accustomed to. Capitalism, while it has its merits, also has its pitfalls, often crushing the dreams of many. Could we envisage alternatives that make dreams more than just a privilege for the few, but a right for all? A system that doesn't kill dreams, but nurtures them. Capitalism might be a dream killer, but that doesn't mean we can't dream of a better system. Be sure to hit that like or subscribe button and keep being curious, beautiful, and continue learning. Check out some of my other videos and keep staying curious.